covering the Northern Bahamas? You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Welcome back. A special service of Thanksgiving is planned for the Pro-Cathedral of Christ the King in Freeport tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. The service will be in observance of the attainment of majority rule. The Bahamas gained majority rule for the first time on January 10th, 1967, symbolizing the promise of equality and fair play for all Bahamians. Majority Rule Day became a public holiday in 2014. In commemoration of this significant milestone, one of the men involved in the struggle visited St. George's High School today to give students an update on what majority rule is all about. Megan Shepard has more.
This January 10th, Bahamians will celebrate the 52nd anniversary of the attainment of majority rule. Now, while many residents have lived through this historic day, some of us have only been able to read about it in the history books. While this Wednesday morning on the eve of majority rule, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students of St. George's High School were able to get a first-hand recollection of this historic moment in Bahamian history from one of the men that led the fight for majority rule, a former parliamentarian and cabinet minister, the Most Honorable Maurice Moore.
With God's help and the determination of our people, we won that election. And the vote came out even. They got 18 seats and we got 18. And it was, of course, it's history because Randolph Fox and A.R. Brennan joined with us to form the new government.
The Most Honorable Maurice Moore focusing on the liberties we now enjoy. He says they were all made possible thanks to the changes that came about following majority rule.
In embracing the change of 1967, all Bahamians became free men and free women could succeed in their own country. The attainment of majority rule brought about a new economic political reality in the Bahamas on January 10, 1967. Also, it paved the way for more Bahamians to pursue higher education, letting in new light and technologies, and embracing many opportunities for the advancement of the development of our country.
Reflecting on segregation endured by Bahamians during the 1960s, he says that this generation has come about in a time when social order has changed. He encouraged the students to take their education seriously as it will lead them on the path to success.
It is the road to progress and training and individual achievement. Just remember that. Because those who are taking the time to study now and those who are taking the time to read and to learn, they will be the leaders of tomorrow. So choose which one you will be. Choose it now.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Well, the Bishop Michael Eldon High School also commemorating the 52nd anniversary of majority rule with an assembly. Guest speaker at the event was chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, Senator Fred Mitchell. He reflected on some of the historic changes that took place and says 1967 was a very intense time in the country.
Elections were called just before Christmas. And elections were called against the backdrop of a government that had been accused of corruption. Some of it around the development of the city of Freeport. The Grand Bahama Port Authority, it is said, had paid fees to the ministers of the government prior to 1967 in order to get licenses to operate in Grand Bahama. There was also the question of Preacher Hall. Who knows that name? He's also Grand Bahamian from 8 Mile Rock. And he was arrested because he brought his taxi into Freeport, which he couldn't do and shouldn't do. And that changed after 1967. And after 1967, The power which the Grand Bahama Port Authority had over immigration and the police, that changed, so that it went back to the Bahamas government.
Mitchell admonished students to know their history, saying 1967 was also a time of celebration for many Bahamians because many barriers were broken.
Such a happy event. I hope that in your lives going forward, that you have many, many happy social events like that. Because the people who fought for us through Burma Road, the Citizens Committee, the elections to Parliament, the vote for women, the mace out of the window, majority rule, and independence, all fought so that you could be free.
Now, as mentioned earlier, an ecumenical service in observance of majority rule will be held at the Pro-Cathedral of Christ the King at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Following that service, the Cooling Waters and the Legends Marching Band will give a musical salute in honor of majority rule. That performance will take place at the Foster B. Pistina Center. And now it is time to ask the doctor.
This is Ask the Doctor. Cheryl asked, I'm hearing about so many women having cervical cancer and ovarian cancer. Is this a common cancer among women? Thanks for such a timely question. It is very important that we continue to remind women that cervical cancer is considered the second most frequent cause of cancer in the Bahamas. Various strains of the human papillomavirus, or HPV, is a sexually transmitted infection, and it plays a role in causing most cervical cancers. When exposed to HPV, a woman's immune system prevents the virus from doing harm in most cases. However, in a small group of women, the virus survives for years, and eventually causing some cells on the surface of the cervix to become cancer cells. You can lower your risk of developing cervical cancer by having regular screening tests to detect small changes in the cervix before they become cancerous, and by being vaccinated against HPV. Vaccination is available for girls and women ages 9 to 26. The vaccine is most effective if given to girls before they become sexually active. I'm Dr. Monique Pratt, and this has been Ask the Doctor.
Don't go away. A check on sports is up next with Romiko Knowles.